like the street stuff, I didn't know any of the rules, any of the elements and stuff. Everything was unfamiliar to me in the jail, so that's when I learned furtherance. You have to have furtherance.
Yeah. Did you feel bad that you earned his trust for a split second and then you backstabbed him?
No, not really.
Did you feel bad that he was offering something kind to you and then you took him to jail?
Okay.
Yo, we're back with a really exciting episode with Lieutenant Aram Choe. Everybody.
What was it? What was that code? 637B?
647B.
We got 647B.
At the JustKiddingNews office. Hey, so we're gonna get into something really exciting right now.
Okay.
We want to hear some of your sting operations.
Yeah, there's not a lot, but the ones I did participate in were pretty cool. So,
what exactly is a sting operation first?
So, like, you take a needle and... No, I'm just
It's one of those when you go, freeze, LAPD!
I don't know. This would be a good one for one of my videos that I do about historical context and police. I don't know where the term sting came from. Oh, okay. But what it is basically when you're undercover and you're falsely producing an environment of crime, like prostitution, right, or a gang sting, a buy, a drug bust. Any of those reverse where you're undercover and pretending to be an illicit figure to bring in a customer is a sting. But I researched why it's called a sting.
I think it's because of the band, The Police. Yeah. When he went.
Maybe because it stings when that happens. I don't know.
Why is...
It's like a bee sting.
Isn't it the movie with Redford? The Sting? The famous one?
Yeah. Oh.
Isn't that the whole...
Maybe it has something to do
Is that where it came from? No way, right?
I always wanted to do that.
How do you know that stuff? You're too young.
On Perplexity, it says a sting operation most likely owes its etymological origin to the bee sting. Just like a bee sting, someone who tries to take honey from a beehive. Oh. Sting operation involves stinging a criminal when they attempt to commit a crime.
Oh, wow.
Get it where it hurts.
So I told you guys about the one I did with the bee girl activity at the Koreatown bar. I did so well with them. They were impressed at how much I could hold my liquor, I guess.
That's that genetic blood.
Yeah.
So in that one, did they rush in and arrest them, or did they get them?
They were building a case. Yeah, that was later. Okay. Yeah. So speaking of which, that's the first time I learned too that I didn't turn. I didn't know. Did you guys?
You don't have Asian glow.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that's a thing, right? Asian people are missing an enzyme that makes them turn red.
I look like this.
Yeah, same.
Really?
I turn purple.
So they pointed it out to me. They're all, oh, you don't turn red. And I said, oh, and nobody in my family does, so I think it's a genetic thing.
It is genetic.
I feel like Koreans don't turn red, do they? Or am I wrong?
David does. David does.
David's allergic to everything, though, so sorry.
True.
You don't have that gene, then. Wow.
Like my dad turns red, and so does my sister.
Like
my
after
mom
one
doesn't,
sip, right?
and I don't.
One sip will turn you red, right?
Yeah,
So
some
it's
people.
not a indicative of how much you had to drink. It's just any kind of drink will turn you red. Yeah.
You're perfect for that work, then.
That was the first one. Well, anyways, so it led me to another undercover gig, and but I wasn't the bait this time. I was just undercover as a security. So they took us to this park called Whittier Narrows Park, and
like where Leg Lake is?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh shit. Okay.
I grew up racing BMX over there. I caught my first fish at Leg Lake too.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of memories. It's a local park. If you grew up in the San River Valley, you know.
I learned how to drive stick there. My dad was yelling at me the whole time.
There's a lot of duck shit at the park. Yeah, I always call it a duck shit park.
Duck shit.
Oh shit, I know.
One of the things I bet you guys didn't know that I didn't know until I found out was it's a place where men will walk looking for other men to engage in. Oh, he doesn't know that. Yeah.
That's why he calls it
In
Duck
what?
Shit Park.
Sexual activity. Whether it's yes.
It's a cruising park.
Yes,
Joe's
whether
like,
it was
I always thought I was
prostitution
just fine
or just
to be
two
with
guys
him.
wanting to get it on. So it doesn't always have to be prostitution, but
Is it specifically there or at all lakes?
that park had a reputation for that.
All lakes are...
All the Great Lakes.
Every lake.
Lake Michigan, Lumberjacks.
I thought it was a cultural thing. If you just walk a certain way,
Lake
then it's
Mead, they're doing it over there too, bud.
like, no.
Is it the one above the 60 or under the 60?
Above the 60. So my job was, they had different undercovers placed, right? And my job was to just ride my bike and be security for them. And this is where I actually learned the term furtherance because I screwed up. So as I'm taking a break to go to the bathroom, this guy is walking in. He's dressed in the typical, what do they call it, twink, right? The knee athletic socks, the short gym shorts, the gym shirt with a backpack. So I have no idea if this kid's a real student or an adult playing a student playing a fantasy role.
Wow.
Follows me into the bathroom and says, "Hey, I'll suck your dick."
Well, that's forward.
So I'm so excited now. I'm just security. I'm not really a cop. I'm not supposed to be the enforcer on this one. So I said, "Okay," and turn around. You're under arrest. And I call for backup, and they come. "Oh, cool, man. Good job." So write your report. Write the report, and the guy's all, "Well, what did you guys agree on?" I'm like, "He was gonna suck my dick." Yeah, but what were you gonna pay him? Nothing. And then did you zip your pants or no? So that's when elements of 640s. And mind you,
He's like, you got too excited when you wanted to suck your dick, bro.
even though I was a cop, I was working custody. My job was to work in the jail. So like the street stuff, I didn't know any of the rules, any of the elements and stuff. Everything was unfamiliar to me in the jail. So that's when I learned furtherance. You have to have furtherance. So
Did you feel bad that you earned his trust for a split second and then you backstabbed him?
no, not really.
Did you feel bad that he was offering something kind to you and then you took him to jail?
No, but I do remember driving home thinking, because he was a young person, maybe he was a teenager. I did drive home thinking, like, what would drive somebody to do that? Like, was he abused?
Like maybe he had a pimp or something.
Maybe a pimp too. You know, was there
Maybe
human
you're just
trafficking
like
involved?
his type.
Yeah. I did find out later I was a type for a couple of the people. The I don't know what you call them, the Johns, potential Johns.
Oh yeah.
They like your type?
A young Asian guy is a type for some people. And then the only other time I
Young Asian guy is gay, but backwards.
Ooh,
Yag.
dude, that is.
What's furtherance backwards?
Not too many letters.
Well, fine Asian guy is gaff.
Okay, we're not
All
gonna
right.
go there.
Good job. Good job.
But you could say it the other way too.
Fat Asian guy too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Bald Asian guy.
There's a lot. There's a lot we could choose from.
But the final undercover opportunity I got to work with was a joint operation between LA County Sheriffs and El Monte PD in a border area at a motel called the Sunkissed Motel. So this was a cool one. When there's a prostitution sting, the prostitutes are the undercovers. They're cops, so they're dressed, and I'm thinking they're going to be like fancy dresses, hair made.
Oh, like they're real cops that
they're
are.
real
Oh
cops.
shit.
But it was the first time I saw a cop dressed like so they're dressed like they're druggies,
Like a dirty
or
whore.
homeless. Yes. And the only thing that they're doing to attract people is maybe showing more skin, right? And so they're the undercovers, and I was another security. But that was the first time I got to work with El Monte PD, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool department. And a lot of the undercovers were El Monte. At the time, they had several females that fit the undercover role to do that. The one cool side story to that is, in these activities, sometimes they'll bring a food truck to cater, and the guy that catered it was sponsored by the Teamsters. Sometimes they like helping out the police, and this was orchestrated through the sheriff's department. And the guy that did it was like some sort of like advisor to the sheriff, and he paid for it. And he was the West Coast president of the Teamsters named, what was his name? The East Coast was John Gotti Jr. That's the East Coast president of Teamsters. And the West Coast one, I just killed the momentum for the story. I forget his name, it'll come to me later.
Fidel Castro.
No, but he was up there too, you know. So everybody makes jokes that the mob is associated with the Teamsters and stuff. And when you have a name like John Gotti Jr. and you're the president of the West Coast, and the West Coast equivalent of that was the one supplying that. I thought that was kind of cool. Like, hey, we're kind of doing a criminal thing here, but
With criminals.
Have you ever done like a sting with like a federal agency like FBI or DEA or anything?
No, I've never been on an assignment. We do have officers from El Monte PD that they're called task force officers. They are embedded in the DEA and the FBI. I think we have 2 DEA officers and 1 FBI officer that were embedded.
Have you ever been kicked off of a crime scene because they're like, this is our jurisdiction now?
Like the fucking movies.
Yeah.
Not with the FBI like you think. Oh, FBI is here with the big dogs, take over. But my first time, so I promoted to detective as a corporal. So this is my second time as a detective. And as a corporal, you're like this pseudo supervisor when the sergeant's not there. And of course, my first week, that Friday, the sergeant's gone, and it's like a holiday weekend or something like that. And they're all, hey, you'll be okay. There's only 2 people at work. You can be their supervisor. I'm like, but I don't even know how to be detective. It's okay. Gangs is here, and they're experienced investigators. If you have any problems, go to the detectives or ask them. So about 11 o'clock, everybody's busy, probably having lunch, but working their cases. I get a call from the watch commander saying, hey, somebody from Alhambra, the watch commander from Alhambra PD says there's a guy that says he wants to confess to a murder to his mom that occurred 11, 12 years ago. I'm like, okay. In my head, because I just came from patrol, I'm thinking it's a 5150. I'm just going to listen to the story, write him up for mental observation, and put him away. When I get there, the watch commander, female watch commander from Alhambra, says, hey, this guy says he wants to confess to a murder that occurred in your city. And I said, okay, I'll take it from here, because I don't want to look incompetent, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm dressed like a detective. So I'm like, all right, come with me. And she's like, okay. So I take him, I cuff him, I put him in the back seat where there's no cage or anything. I'm so naive to this point. I'm like, you want to show me where this happened? Thinking it's not going to happen. And he drives me to the cross streets are Lashbrook and Cortada. And he says, oh, this house, it's a group of townhouses. This house right here. I'm like, okay, sit in the car. I knock on the door, hoping nobody's going to answer. Guy answers. I'm like, oh, hey, this guy in my back seat says he wants to confess to a murder that occurred 11 years ago and said he buried his mom in your backyard. Oh, where? Hold on. I go, mind you, I didn't even ask Miranda, so because I don't know, right? So I asked him questions that were not admissible. So I'm like, hey, where'd you bury your mom? She says, oh, if you open the slider, right there. Just a few feet in front.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay. So I go to the guy. I said, hey, it's just 3 feet in front of the thing. Well, I just put a cement pad there. I'm like, all right, sorry to bother you. He's like, well, I don't want. If there's a dead body back there, I don't want it. I don't want a dead body back there. You guys will dig it up, right? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. So I call my watch commander. I'm like, hey, this is what we got. He's all, and he admitted to it, not knowing that I didn't ask him Miranda. He's yeah, man. Oh yeah, call City Yard. Call Public Works, and they'll bring the jackhammer, get the guy to do a consent to search. And the guy said, yeah, I don't want a thing. And I'm trying to think ahead, right? Like, okay, I'm smarter than this. Let me bring the guy in and just have him point it out exactly. Guy comes in and he gets to the slider, gets down to his knees, and with his hands cuffed behind his back, bends forward and says, I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, Mom. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? This guy is kind of making it believable now. Call Public Works, and because I'm the supervisor of detectives, Patrol Watch Commander doesn't want to overstep my toes, and he's kind of letting me run with it. So I call Public Works, and about 3 hours after breaking up cement, they brought the jackhammer out, and this is another moment that I think I'm smart. Jackhammer would have been done in 30 minutes, but I had them use hand tools, because if there was a body, I didn't want them to break the body up, right? So hand tools, and these poor guys on a holiday weekend, they were the on-calls in the sun, using picks and hammers and shovels and stuff. After about 3 hours, I'm getting ready to call it because I'm pretty embarrassed now. The guy's like, hey, it's kind of weird that there's a weed barrier 3 feet below the ground. I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird. So I look down, and it's a black piece of plastic, and I do one of these things, and I see a kneecap.
Holy shit.
So I'm like, all right, everybody stop. I call homicide. Homicide comes, and they're all, so tell me what happened. So I tell them the story, and the guy looks at me, Boyd Zumwalt, I'll never forget his name, detective, half Asian guy with gray eyes, been a homicide detective for like 25 years, pulls me aside and goes, at what point did you get the search warrant? I'm like, ooh, at what point was I supposed to get a search warrant? Did you Miranda the guy? Like, oh, I didn't do that. Are you a brand new detective? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, case. Yeah, he's like, don't worry, we'll just start everything from the beginning. You didn't know. And so, yeah, I got bailed out of that. And homicide basically took...
So he still admitted,
Yes, so what happened was, remember when the Aztec calendar said the end of the world was supposed to happen?
2012?
Yeah, okay, so it was 2012.
December.
He thought it was gonna, he thought the end of the world was gonna happen. And he lived in Seattle. And he came down to confess to it because he didn't want to die with that on his conscience. So the whole story happened...
There's a lot of cuckoo-ass motherfuckers in this world.
So 12 years ago, he's sitting at home playing video games, and Dad lives in Seattle. Mom and Dad came to America from Vietnam married, but shortly got divorced after. No other family in America. Dad moves to Seattle. Son stays with Mom in El Monte. He's, for whatever reason, having a bad relationship with Mom or having a bad day. Mom's in the bedroom and tells him, hey, stop playing video games for 5 minutes and go get some food. Gives him money to go get food. And he's like so perturbed that he has to stop playing his video game. He goes and grabs a kitchen knife, goes upstairs to her bed and stabs her multiple times. As a matter of fact, when they dug up the skeleton, the skeleton was dug up kind of like in the fetal position, and you can see on this bone here on the chin, one of the scar marks from clearly.
Like the knife coming through the back?
No, just straight to the face as he was facing her. It was a gash.
Wow.
So he killed her on the bed, and he goes back down and finishes the video games. He's like, you know what? I got to do something here. I can't believe what I did. So he goes to Home Depot and hires some day laborers to dig a pond in the backyard. He pays them $100 to dig a pond, and then he says, hey, just dig a pond, sends him on his way, drags mom down with a mattress, pulls a whole mattress and drags her down the stairs, takes her to the backyard, puts her in the hole and buries her, and then he notices the mattress is covered in blood, so he puts the mattress on top of the thing and lights it on fire. The back neighbor looks over the wall and goes, everything okay? He's like, oh, this is a Vietnamese custom that we do where we, and he's like, okay, and just goes with it, doesn't call the cops or anything. And then as family would call to ask for mom, because it was 5 years before he decided to move to Seattle, probably because he was underage. I think he was 15 or 16 when he did that.
Whoa!
Dad's like, hey, can I talk to your mom? Mom's at work. Okay, and doesn't know any better, right? Family would call from Vietnam. Oh, she's sleeping because of the time change, or she's at work, and nobody thought anything of it. They would just think she was busy trying to make a living for their family, and could have got away with it. It was only the fact we didn't even know there was a murder. There was no missing person. There was no murder. He just admitted to it, and that's how I kind of made my claim to fame with the detectives. And the last time I was here, I told you the investigations kind of became my thing. Well, it started off rocky, and that was my first investigation.
So, like, because you didn't get the Miranda and because you didn't get the search warrant, if right when that other detective was like, did you get this? Did you get this? And you said no. If you went back to that guy and were like, hey, I need to do the Miranda now, and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, how would that complicate it?
Right. So lucky he didn't, because everything up until that point was considered kind of consensual. Yeah. I thought I was taking him for a mental thing. So the cuff wasn't because he was under arrest. He was being cuffed or detained. He was being cuffed because he was mental, in my opinion. Yeah. And as he's making these statements, it was spontaneous. Yeah. He didn't have to say anything. So I'm like, and I'm asking clarifying statements too. I'm like, so you said you buried your mom back here? Yeah, exactly right here. Well, where? So all those things were completely admissible because he wasn't under arrest, detained at that time. And the defense did try to fight that, but the court saw it my way. And the experienced homicide detective did kind of guide me to how to word those reports and stuff.
Okay, so even if he stopped talking at that point, it would have still been okay for you?
Yes, because if I coerced him at that time, if he said, I don't want to talk or I want a lawyer, and I still asked him questions and he answered them, then they would be inadmissible. But you got to remember, the whole thing started because a tip came in from the other agency saying he came into the station saying he buried his mom.
So he wanted to, he was voluntarily.
Damn,
and that's the only thing that salvaged this entire case. Yeah.
And then he thought the Mayan calendar was correct, but then it didn't even happen. Right. So is he just in jail now going, man? Yeah.
And you said it was 11 years ago that he did this?
11 or 12 years prior to that, yeah.
11 years that body was just in that, in that ground.
And if there was no Mayan calendar, threat of ending the world, he would have never said anything to anybody. Yeah. And he ended up moving to Seattle with his dad.
And that person that moved in, they re-cemented that whole
There was
area.
no patio back there. It was dirt and grass, and he wanted kind of a cement landing, and the landing was probably like maybe 4 feet by 6 feet.
And then they just went on top of the dirt, so they didn't make any
Right. Yeah, it was just a free-floating slab. Right. It was just a free-floating slab, so that when he stepped out from his slider, he can step on cement instead of the grass.
And then they had to break through the cement.
Yes.
Damn.
And you made them do it manually with pickaxes.
I know, right? I'm thinking but in retrospect, it was the right decision.
Would they have broken through into the body, you think?
With a jackhammer, the type that they had probably had a 2-inch spear end into it, so probably, right? Because I don't know if they would have stopped had they at the cement part. Maybe they would have gone into the dirt to loosen it. I don't know.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. Mayan calendars.
Thanks to the Mayan.
I didn't know that was a Vietnamese thing.
You burn a sleep number every 11 years.
Anthony never brought that up ever. Yeah.
They sacrifice Tempur-Pedic all the time.
Us Vietnamese hardcore believe in the Mayans.
Yeah.
Holy shit, being a cop is so heavy.
And then they all burn Sealy mattresses.
Holy crap, dude.
It was crazy, yeah.
Because you got to think on the fly. I feel like it's like an improv.
Yeah, and mind you, I didn't have training. I wasn't trained yet. It was just like.
How are you a detective,
God, dude?
Without training? You pass tests?
Yeah, so you get promoted to detective, right? And then the training starts after that. Your training never stops. You always go to different schools. But the basic detective school, once you get promoted, it's not like there's an opening. You can go to detective school. You have to kind of wait for an opening. And meanwhile, the senior detectives will train you.
I see.
You go along with them. But it was a holiday weekend, and so it was thin. And they're like, oh, you'll be fine. Just don't take it. You know, nobody expected a call like that to come in.
Did they give you shit for like a little bit after that? Like, Miranda boy.
No, because
Miranda boy.
it was a huge deal. For 3 days, they had the coroner forensic investigators out there, and they have they look like when you go to a dig site where they have the grid lines, and then you have those scientists that use the little duster
brush and stuff.
They did that for 3 days to pull this body out.
Oh man.
Because they wanted to preserve as much evidence and stuff.
Can you guys still live at that house afterwards?
I don't know, bro.
I'd be like, man, no wonder it was haunted.
The forensic excavators is what they called it. But yeah, so I was there for 3 days as the lead detective now. Not the lead, but the lead for my agency. Homicide took over. But yeah, it really catapulted my, because I didn't know what I didn't know till maybe about a year after it, right? And Boyd Zumwalt was kind of being nurturing with me. Yeah. It was a cool case for him too. So it wasn't. Had it been like your run-of-the-mill drive-by shooting and there's a gangster involved, he's done dozens and dozens of those. Probably would have schooled me a little bit more, and I would have made our whole agency look incompetent. But when I told him this is literally the third day I've been a detective, I've never been trained, and then he's all, and you got handed this, and kind of took me under his wing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That'd be tight if when they got there and they're like, "How did you know the body was here?" And you were like, "I just had a feeling." Yeah.